Have you ever watched someone you love misunderstand your child and felt your chest tighten because you didn't know whether to explain, correct, or stay quiet? When family members don't understand your child, it can feel heavier than we expect, especially when you're already doing everything you can. If you've ever felt caught between advocating for your child and keeping the peace with family, this video is for you. This isn't about blaming anyone. It's about naming a very real experience many parents quietly carry. Ready? Because this is Kind Parent Collective, less perfect parent, more real one. When support doesn't feel supportive. One of the hardest parts of parenting a neurodivergent child isn't always the appointments, the meltdowns, or the uncertainty. Sometimes it's the moments that happen quietly at family gatherings, over phone calls, or in passing comments from people who love you but don't fully understand your child. You might hear things like, they'll grow out of it, or you just need to be stricter, or they don't act like this with me. These comments may not be meant to hurt, but they often land heavy. They can leave you feeling defensive, exhausted, or doubting yourself all over again. When family members don't understand your child, it can feel isolating, especially when you are hoping for support, not explanations. Why misunderstanding hurts so much? Family opinions carry weight because they're rooted in relationship and history. When a stranger misunderstands your child, it's frustrating. When family does, it can feel personal. Parents often carry an invisible hope that family will just get it, that they'll notice the effort your child is making or recognize how much work goes into daily regulation. When that doesn't happen, it can stir up grief, resentment, or a deep sense of loneliness. This pain doesn't mean you're overly sensitive. It means you care deeply about your child and about being understood as their parent. Different generations, different frameworks. Many family members are operating from outdated or limited understandings of child development. Some were raised with strict discipline models. Others grew up in a time when neurodivergence wasn't discussed openly or was misunderstood entirely. That doesn't excuse hurtful comments, but it does help explain why some family members interpret behavior as defiance instead of communication, or see sensory needs as indulgence rather than necessity. They may genuinely believe they're helping even when their words feel dismissive. Your child is not performing for approval. One common frustration parents share is hearing, "They don't do that with me." Children often behave differently in different environments. Some mask more around unfamiliar people. Others hold everything together until they feel safe and then release it later. This isn't manipulation or inconsistency, it's regulation. Your child is not required to prove their needs or struggles to be believed. Their experience doesn't become valid only when others witness it. When advice feels like judgment. Unsolicited advice can be especially painful when it's wrapped in certainty. Suggestions like,
"Have you tried just ignoring it?"
or
"You're giving them too much control,"
can feel like subtle accusations. Over time, this kind of advice can chip away at parental confidence. You might start over-explaining, defending every choice, or questioning strategies that are actually working for your child. It's important to remember, advice given without understanding context is not guidance, it's projection. You don't owe everyone an education. Many parents feel pressure to constantly explain their child's needs. While education can be helpful, it is not your responsibility to convince everyone. You are allowed to choose when and how much you share. Sometimes protecting your energy is more important than correcting misinformation. Not every misunderstanding needs to be addressed in the moment. Silence can be a boundary too. Choosing what to explain and what to let go. It can help to decide ahead of time which topics you're willing to discuss and which ones you're not. For example, you might feel comfortable explaining sensory overload, but choose not to debate your parenting approach. Having a few prepared responses can reduce emotional labor. Simple phrases like, "This works best for our child," or "We're following guidance that supports their nervous system," can redirect conversations without escalating them. You don't need to justify your decisions to be valid. When family pushes back on boundaries. Setting boundaries with family can feel uncomfortable, especially if you were taught to prioritize harmony over honesty. Some family members may push back when routines change, visits look different, or expectations shift. They might see boundaries as rejection rather than protection. It's okay to remind yourself that boundaries aren't punishments. They're tools that allow relationships to continue in safer, healthier ways. Grieving the support you hoped for. There's often an unspoken grief when family doesn't show up in the way you imagined. You might mourn the idea of grandparents who intuitively understand your child, or relatives who advocate alongside you. This grief doesn't mean you don't appreciate the support you do have. It simply means you're acknowledging a gap between expectation and reality. Allowing yourself to name that loss can be an important step toward emotional relief. Protecting your child's sense of safety. Children pick up on tone, tension, and emotional undercurrents, even when words aren't directed at them. Repeated misunderstandings can affect how safe a child feels being themselves around family. As a parent, it's okay to step in, redirect conversations, or limit exposure when needed. Protecting your child's emotional safety is not overreacting, it's responsive parenting. Your child doesn't need to toughen up. They need to feel accepted. When you feel caught in the middle. Many parents feel torn between advocating for their child and preserving family relationships. This can create guilt, especially if family members frame boundaries as hurtful or unnecessary. It's not selfish to prioritize your child's needs, even when it causes discomfort. You are not responsible for managing everyone else's emotions. You're allowed to hold compassion for family members while still standing firm in your role as your child's safe person. Finding support outside the family. When understanding isn't available within your family, many parents find comfort in communities who share similar experiences. Other parents of neurodivergent children often offer validation without explanation. These spaces can remind you that you're not alone and that what you're navigating is real and shared. Support doesn't have to come from people who share your last name. Reframing what understanding looks like. Understanding doesn't always mean full agreement or perfect behavior. Sometimes it looks like family members being willing to listen, even if they don't fully grasp the why. Other times, it means adjusting expectations and accepting that some people may never fully understand your child's experience. That acceptance can be freeing. A message for the parent listening right now. If family members don't understand your child, it doesn't mean you're failing to explain or failing as a parent. It means you're parenting in a space that asks for patience, advocacy, and resilience, often without a roadmap. You are doing meaningful work even when it's invisible to others. Thank you for being with us today here at Kind Parent Collective. Remember, you don't need universal approval to know your child is worthy of understanding, respect, and care, and neither do you. And if today was rough, you still did enough. Catch you on the next one.